Sherm Chester along with Roger Brown on this edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast. And Roger, busy man with the New Hampshire Football Report.com. And we just got through week 5 of the season. And first off, before we get to the local scene, any surprises during week 5?
Surprises. I'm a little surprised that Portsmouth beat Winnicott only because Portsmouth was going into that game, I was told, was missing several players because of injury. So that one caught me a little off guard. But I would say the biggest surprise was Wyndham beating Salem 17-0.
Yeah.
A little surprised by the winner, the team that won, but super surprised that Salem didn't score. That's a tough offense to hold to nothing. So that would have been my number one takeaway in terms of things that caught my eye was Wyndham's victory over Salem. That's three losses in a row for Salem now.
Yeah. Now, I heard Pinkerton, Concord gave Pinkerton a contest, at least for a part of the game.
Yep, Concord was ahead by 13 in the second half. And then, Pinkerton came storming back to win by double digits. So Concord team's a tough one to figure. They give the good teams a hard time, and they got a couple losses or at least one loss that was a little surprising. So, other than Bedford and Pinkerton, and then maybe South, I guess you throw BG in there too. So maybe 4 teams. After that, it's tough to predict week to week because those there's not a lot of things don't go to form, I guess is what I should say, always with those teams below. Usually there's a second tier
right
that you can count on to beat up on the bottom feeders, so to speak. But this year it's just a big jumble, like Alvern beat Central. Central was coming off who'd they beat? Concord, I guess, the week before, and Alvern hadn't won a game, and Alvern beats them by 2 touchdowns. So I don't. It's a tough.
It's an interesting season. Yeah, it's an interesting season to say the least. And let's get to the Seacoast. Well, you mentioned the Portsmouth-Winnicott game, and one thing I will say about that matchup, Portsmouth has been putting up points. And I was talking with our friend Jay Pinsino, and I actually thought there would be an upset, and there was, just based on the scoring and defense on not using any magical formula or anything, but I just said, Portsmouth has a shot. I knew nothing about any injuries, so I was going.
Yeah, going into it, if they were full strength, certainly anybody's ball game. But Portsmouth had its game next week canceled, and they were so banged up that they didn't even try and find an opponent to fill in. So that gives you an idea of the injury situation there. Going into the Winnicott game. So, I don't know, maybe some guys played that weren't expected to. I don't really know what happened there because I wasn't at the game, but, based on the injury report, I was a little surprised. Of course, Winnicott, if you go back, you'll see that there is an Exeter hangover there the week after. Not providing any excuses for them, but I can't specifically recall the games or the teams that they played, but I know after beating Exeter, they've gotten beaten by teams they probably should have defeated in the past, regularly. So there's something to that, I think.
And then, of course, the Blue Hawks went off that loss, which didn't help having to go up against one of the monsters of the Division I, and that's Bedford. The Bulldogs had their way with the Blue Hawks. Very ugly game, 42-7. Were you at that game?
Yeah, I was at that one, Sherm.
I've heard that we've got some injury problems with the Blue Hawks right now, and so what was your takeaway?
Yeah, they do have some injuries. I don't know if they have 35 points worth of injuries. I actually thought Exeter did okay on offense. 2 of their running backs were out. And that was going to be their key to keeping it close, was to keep the ball away from the Bedford offense. And but they just didn't have any answers for Bedford when Bedford had the ball. Bulldogs scored on each of their 6 possessions up until the third quarter, and then it was running time, and the subs went in. So just defense was not a good match for Bedford's offense.
Brody Helton is a beast, no doubt about it. I mean, we know he's going to become a Division One lacrosse player when he graduates this year and moves on to the college ranks. And then the quarterback too. I mean, there you go. I mean, they're a 1-2 punch, and they took advantage of it for sure.
Yeah, two terrific runners. Bennett Matthews, the quarterback you mentioned, is also a very capable passer, and they've developed 2 receivers as the season's gone on. I saw them in a scrimmage, and they didn't really have any go-to guys who were hanging on to the ball. But they've got a couple. This kid Bryson Durso, and the one who hurt Exeter the most was a kid named Landon Elsmore. I think he had 6 catches, including one. I don't know what the length. Must have been a 60-yard TD catch or 55-yard catch, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's gonna, it'd be hard enough if they had no receivers at all trying to bottle up their run game, but at least you could focus on that. But the fact that they can throw it as well, they're going to be a very, very tough team to shut down on offense. Now, you might be able to get them on defense, not to say that they're bad or anything like that over there, but, I'd rather play offense against their defense than vice versa.
Now, when the Blue Hawks come home for a couple of games, they got home cooking for a while. Not homecoming, but home cooking. They're playing the Dover Green Wave, and then the following week, Spalding, the Red Raiders. Bounce back games for them?
Those are 2 games they got to win. Those are 2 programs that are struggling, and Exeter should win both of them. In that sense, the timing is good to play those 2 opponents. Those are probably, it's a little early to say, but I think the East Conference will probably have 4 playoff teams, and I would say those are 2 of the 3 that won't make it.
And getting to the Warriors, back to the Winnicott Warriors, they've got a real contender this week, and the Manchester Memorial Crusaders. And I said it last week when I was talking with Coach Rich Kane. I think that both the Blue Hawks and the Warriors play. The matter of fact, the Blue Hawks will end their season against the Crusaders. So that kind of sets up the standings even more so, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, Memorial's already 2 games ahead of Exeter. They haven't lost yet, so it's going to be tough for Exeter to catch them. I would say, the winner of the Winnicott Memorial game will be in the driver's seat to finish first. Not to, a lot of football to be played, of course. And one thing working in like Exeter and Winnicott's favor is Memorial. They've got a couple of tough opponents out of conference. I know they play Pinkerton, and I'm thinking Nashua South or BG might be their other the team they play from the West. Either way, it's a tough one. So they could get knocked off in those games, and that would help. But they're going to be they're gonna go into those games ahead of Exeter in the standings, and we'll see about Winnicott depending on who wins Friday night's game. That's a big one of the biggest games in Division One.
Yeah, for sure. And we want to let folks know that in the standings right now, in the other portions of Division One, the Central Division right now, Pinkerton is still undefeated. They had a close call, as we said, with Concord for at least the first half, and then took charge. So they're still undefeated. In the West, Bedford and Bishop Girton are undefeated still, and they eventually will come together in 2 weeks, I think it is? Not this week, but next week.
Yeah, and well, BG's got Nashua South this week, so that could end up in a 3. South gave Bedford a good go earlier in the year, so we could end up with 3 teams with 1 loss, possibly. Depending on how things work out there, but. I think the West is the best of the conferences this year. Usually it's the Central, but those 3 teams right there are, You got two unbeatens, and
Mm,
South's only loss came against Bedford. That's a that's a tough trio to contend with. But just back to Winnicott real quick, Sherm. If they can win this weekend, although the standings would still look close, they would have tiebreakers over Exeter and Memorial. So uh, huge game if Winnicott can win. And of course, if you finish first in your conference, you get a bye. So it is kind of a big deal to finish first. It's more than bragging rights and yada yada. So big game at the beach
for
Friday
sure.
night.
For sure. Any other surprises or teams that are surprising you in the other divisions?
Uh, Not really. No, I think it's other than Pelham. Their run of success is remarkable. I think what was last year? They were going for their was it five? I think five in a row,
Yeah, I
four or
believe
five
so.
in a row state titles, and they came up short in the championship game. They get a new head coach this year, and you know, they're beating teams 50-0 every week and still unbeaten. So just their level of, they're supposed to be a Division 3 team playing in Division 2, so they're playing up against bigger schools. So I guess I'm just surprised that they've been able to carry this success out for so many years. But and then maybe Plymouth. Plymouth's coach is his wife has been very. She's had a health situation, so he hasn't been able to coach during the week all season. He does show up on game days, and they're undefeated, and they lost a lot of good seniors last year. So hard to say. Plymouth is such a great program. You really can't be surprised. But under the circumstances, what those kids are doing, a little surprised there that they've been, able to accomplish what they've done so far.
Well, hopefully you keep rolling along. Just to give the coach some boost too, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's going to be a terrific playoff because you got Trinity in there, Sauhegan, Plymouth, Pelham. I'm sure there's a couple other giant killers, below too. So I wish Division 1 was a little more even at the top, like Division 2 is or appears to be.
I know you were in a conference with Coach Rick Santos at UNH. Wildcats coming off a loss to Villanova. Final there was 37-7. Now they're on the road to take on Rhode Island. Uh, what's going on down in Durham? Are they getting nervous because they've had a couple of losses now and things? They seem to have momentum, and then it kind of fell back a little bit.
Yeah, that was a big setback because they beat Albany, feeling pretty good about themselves. It was a good performance, and then just got beat up at the line of scrimmage last week. Sherm Saturday at homecoming. I think Villanova ran for 238 yards. I think all of their touchdowns came on the ground. And then UNH didn't get much going on the ground. I think 89 yards, and most of that was the quarterback Veza. So, just old school football. The team that's better up front, took care of business. That was as simple as that, I think. And that's pretty much what Coach Santos said today and after the game.
Now, Rhode Island, have they had success in recent times against the Roadies?
Yeah, Rhode Island struggled for quite a while. The last few years, handful of years, they've been much better. And I'm not sure they might have been the preseason favorite in the CAA this year. This might be their most talented team they've had in 20 years, probably maybe more. But they're coming off a loss to Brown, so they're going to be ready to go, focused. It's a tough assignment for UNH coming off the loss. If they could get this one, it would be, it would. I don't want to say it would be a pleasant surprise, but I think it'll be a tough one to get. Let's put it that way.
Now, well, the big boys down in Foxborough, well, actually, around Buffalo, pulled an upset, 23-20 over the Bills, which kind of, I think, not surprised a lot of people, but maybe so. Maybe that is a good way of putting it, but solidifies the fact that Drake may be a quarterback for their future, and that they aren't just going to get rolled over by everybody in their division, especially.
Oh, you got to be happy, right? I mean, you go into Buffalo and win, defeat that team. That points to good things. Of course, they could go to New Orleans and lose this week, and we'd be right back where we started. But if they could
Right,
build
right.
on this, it'll be terrific. I thought May was fantastic. That one play he made with the defensive lineman kind of hanging on him was sort of
Yeah.
like what Josh Allen does. Diggs stepped up. That's why if you're going to pay a receiver, they need the guy to perform like that. And defense was they got a couple turnovers, but you need those when you're on the road against as an underdog. All good, other than if we could just get Stevenson to hang on to the ball, because
Yeah.
now we got Gibson out. I think
Yeah.
I've been so busy today, Sherm. I don't even know what the
Yeah.
injury.
It's official. Yeah. He's out with an ACL. He'll be out for the season. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I feared last night. Um, and I got to mention, do you play Survivor, Sherm?
Yeah, I'm in a couple of those leagues. One I'm no longer in. I made it 4 weeks and that was it. Yeah,
I had Arizona. Did you see what happened in that game?
I missed that one, but I heard about it.
So there's 9 minutes to go. The kid was going into the end zone, would have made it 28-6, and he drops the ball right before he's in the end zone, like premature celebration,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
All right, so that's bad enough, but I can still hang in there. I'm feeling pretty good. They and they're playing the worst team in the league too, I might add. This is why I don't recommend gambling. Uh, I think it was the Titans come down and the Cardinals intercept a pass about the 30-yard line. Okay, game over pretty much. I'm ready to move on. Except for the guy who starts running around, the Arizona guy, and he fumbles and they kick it into their own end zone and the other team falls on it for a touchdown. I'm like, you can't make this up. What is going on?
I know it's bad. When it goes bad, it really goes bad. I know.
Called it the worst beat in Survivor history. So, of course,
In
I've had it.
Yahoo, in the leagues, they have the actual guillotine come down and chop your head
Oh,
off.
wish they could have done that with about end of the third quarter for me yesterday, and I wouldn't have
Oh
had to watch.
man, I got one left, one team left. I do have the fantasy teams. I know you and the rest of the gang tease me about that. I'm doing fairly well there, but yeah, but the injury bug is what drives me nuts. Well, anyway, like with the Patriots, you don't print the Super Bowl tickets or the playoff tickets, but hey, I think I'll still stick with my prediction. They may actually win 9 this season. I'm going that deep.
9 would be good. I think 9 is a positive year, and their division is looking awful. So,
Yeah.
the Jets, good. The
Oh,
Jets are clearly the Jets again. So,
exactly. Well, I was going to just touch briefly on baseball. I know we got a series going on as we speak, as we record this, the Dodgers and Phillies, and you bleed the Dodger blue, and so you're predicting they're going to go against who in the American League?
Red Sox, right? Dodgers, Red Sox? No?
You're cruel. You're cruel. What I did not like in Major League Baseball, why did they have to play all three at Yankee Stadium? Give the fans at Fenway at least the first game, and then you go to Yankee Stadium for the other two. I know they want to speed things up, but that was kind of ridiculous. I mean, the fans that, could have seen one game, and then you go down to the Yankee Stadium so they can clinch it.
Yeah, I don't like the 3 wild cards either. I don't mind them celebrating back in the old days if there was, one wild card, right? Didn't we used to have it that way? There was
Yeah.
3 divisions and 1 wild card, or was that football that I'm thinking of?
Well, 1967, when the Red Sox won on the last day of the season, that was a reason to
I
celebrate.
mean, if you've
Yes.
got 6 playoff teams in the American League, the Red Sox should be penciled in as one of those every year. The Red Sox and Yankees, and the rest of them can fight over the next 4, right? That's what it should be.
Yeah.
It's just like my Dodgers. They shouldn't be celebrating anything making the playoffs either. But
Right, right.
uh,
The brain trust of the Red Sox had a press conference today, and don't worry, we're gonna make some major moves to tighten things up. So wait until see how much money gets spent. The right side of that infield just was a patchwork, and who knows what's going to happen with the left side of the infield, because Bregman probably will go somewhere. They can pay him bigger money, and then you got Story that could opt out. So that puts you back in square one in the infield, and so it's going to be interesting.
yeah, for sure. And I don't know what Anthony's status is, but I don't think Marcelo Meyer is. I don't think people are looking at him right now like they did at this time a
Yeah,
year ago.
I agree. And then,
Good
and another
player, but
thing,
not special.
pitching wise, I was really impressed by this kid, Connerly Early. He reminds me a lot of Tommy Glavine, and I know he was put under a real microscope at Yankee Stadium, and unfortunately the bats didn't come through for him to give him any support. But I think he has the potential to be a number two someday. But right now he's definitely number three. But I don't know where they're going to, they got to pick up some pitching. Bello isn't the answer, and
Bello, huge disappointment. I thought he had a chance to be,
that's
much
where
better.
strategy wise, that's where I faulted them in that series. They knew it was a 3-game series, so you lose game two after you've won game one. I would have pitched early in game two and then put Bello or whoever in game three. I mean, it kind of, as soon as they said it was going to, all the pressure of the world was on the kid in game three. I mean, he did well for 5 innings, and like I say, got no run support. So,
Yeah, the way they hit in Game 3, I could have pitched, and the Yankees would have advanced. So, uh,
yeah. Well, the Sox fans deserve better, and let's see if they do spend some money and get some pitching, and like I say, shore up that infield and outfield. Well, they've got a couple of tools in the toolbox there, Rafaela and Abreu, and then Anthony. Hopefully, he'll come back stronger than ever, and then you got Duran. They might be able to trade him for something or somebody.
sure. Outfield is good. That's a positive for sure.
2-minute drill. Anything you want to throw on the table before we sign off?
Oh boy, just I guess quickly, Sherm, without giving it too much thought. This is back to high school football. This is one of those years where after the season, the NHIA reviews things and makes changes. And I just like to see us go back to 20 teams instead of 21, which is what we currently have. Just because I'm a guy who thinks that if you're in this conference competing against these teams, you should all play the same opponents. Like Portsmouth last year, they had a rough year. They won 2 games. They had to play Pinkerton and Bedford out of conference. And there was teams that made the playoffs that I won't name the teams they played, but they weren't very good.
Hmm.
And I just don't think when you have when you have that type of inequity, I don't think it's healthy. I think they should go to 2 10-team conferences with 20 teams. They could fix some problems down below because there's only 13 teams in Division 3. So I'd like to see a 20-team Division 1 next year is the bottom line.
No, I agree with you. 'Cause I would like to see 4 conferences instead of 3. How about that?
Yeah, you could do that. I think the way we had it before was 4 or 5-team conferences, and like the North played the South, or
Right,
or and that was really a 10-team
right.
conference, whichever one you played that year out of those. So that would be fine. Go back to that. I got no complaints.
Yeah.
It's just semantics, really, the way you look at it. But I'd like to have a group of 10 over here. I don't care if it's 2 5-team conferences and a group of 10 over there, and we take the best 4 or however many you want from each one and have at it. So, like Exeter could play Winnicott in the championship game if they happen to be the 2 best teams and not meet in the quarterfinals or something.
Sounds good to me. Keep
Yeah.
working it. Keep working it,
Well,
brother.
easy
Keep
to
working it.
fix, easy for me, but not so easy for the people who actually make those decisions.
Well, that and the I think the athletic directors too. I'm just assuming that maybe they have, or the coaches and the ads have some feelings about that too that would have to be worked out, huh?
Yeah, a lot of people are, unfortunately, a lot of people see things not as the New Hampshire football overall, what's best for it, but what's best for school X, whatever the school they represent. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Hmm.
you got to go in there. You shouldn't be on these committees if you're not looking out for the welfare of football overall in the state. I don't think so.
Amen. Amen to that. And if people want to know how the power poll, what the power poll is, go to NewHampshireFootballReport.com and check out Roger's power poll and all the articles that he puts in there. He's a busy man. He's been busy putting stuff together, and the latest edition is up there on the website again, NewHampshireFootballReport.com. And I'm just going to make in my 2-minute drill during homecoming week, I mentioned all the teams for the Blue Hawks. I left one out. I apologize. The girls volleyball team, they had a 3-0 victory over Winnicott during homecoming weekend. So there, I made good on that. One other thing I wanted to ask you, game of the week this week in schoolboy football, which one are you going to be covering, or which one do you think is going to be the barn burner?
Well, I think there's two. I think that Memorial Winnicott game is a terrific one. It's probably the most meaningful in terms of playoff, scenarios. But BG South should be a good one too. BG's undefeated. South has one loss. That's an old rivalry from when Nashua had one school, one private, and one public school. And if BG can win that one, they might be a real threat to Bedford. We'll see. I mean, South hung with Bedford for better part of 2.5 quarters, anyways. But there's going to be a lot of points. That's going to be an entertaining game for people who like offense down there in Stelos.
There you go. And I just want to compliment Bedford TV and Blue Hawk Media did a combined effort on that game, the Blue Hawks versus the Bedford Bulldogs. And Coach Bill Taylor was alongside the regular announcer for the Bulldogs. And the two of them did a great job together. And the Bulldog announcer wasn't goading or gloating, but he did ask Coach Taylor. He says, "Well, what will Coach Ball do? Going into the next few games?" And Bill Taylor didn't hesitate a bit. He just said, "Don't worry, he's working on it right now." and he will. He'll have a plan for both the Dover game, but. Then we move on to Spalding, and then, we got another game, an out-of-conference game. We'll talk about that in our next edition when the Portland Bulldogs come down here to visit William Ball Stadium. So that'll be interesting. But one game at a time. Dover's up next. So
they should be able to build some momentum these next 2 weeks, and then they're going to be up against it. Portland's very good. Memorial's very good. Not to say Exeter can't beat them, but they've got couple of weeks to improve, and we'll see what they can do at the end of the year.
We'll have to touch base next week, see how everything is shaken out, not only the power poll, but the results of all the games that we just mentioned. And on behalf of Roger Brown from the New Hampshire Football Report.com, Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast.